How's it going, guys? Welcome back to yet another episode of Vaughn Coleman Presents. I am, of course, your host, Vaughn Coleman. And before we get started with today's guest, I do want to make sure that I shout out some projects that I'm working on. So if you don't know, big news as far as I'm concerned, because my first ever published work is live. Let me go ahead and refresh that. I always like to do that. And so Tragedy is not my book, but it is a trade paperback. And it features a 10-page short story written by me, yours truly. And this is a short story I came up with. I came up with it as a part of a larger story, but it was like the opening scene fits so perfectly as a 10-pager. And Phil had done a writing contest, and I won it with my script. And you can read the first 4 pages here. And I would love to eventually turn it into an ongoing series. But for now, it's just a self-contained 10-pager. The story is set around this hot chick right here with a gun who is traveling in this high-tech truck here, only to find herself amidst an ambush that she has to fight her way through. It's a story that I'd love to tell as an ongoing comic book series. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out. And again, collector's item here. It's my first ever published work, So if you think I have any potential at all, you might want to get your hands on this. Also, Tragedy is a kick-ass story. So go to the tiers and make sure you back a tier with the Land of the Lawless. And I also want to promote, of course, my comic book, Living Legends, which is the main one I'm focusing on. Set 20 years after World War III, it follows this teenage boy named Miles Hanksley, who is struck by lightning while holding this mysterious crystal, and he finds himself awake with electricity, superpowers, and super speed. And it follows his adventures thereafter, where he tries to interfere at a heist at a nuclear reactor and finds himself in way over his head fighting a villain that's totally out of his league. And when you sign up, you will get a free trading card, which I saw some mock-ups for, and I'm really excited. It exceeded my expectations. And it will be fully colored. I just haven't gotten there yet. And it will be 64 pages. It should be completed by the time I launch the campaign. So there's no reason not to sign up right now. So definitely make sure you do that. And without further ado, enough about me. Let's bring in my esteemed guest. You know him. You love him. Intro. I don't need an intro. Maybe I should make one eventually for Vaughn Coleman Presents. But for now, I'm good. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the incredible John Osachuk, who is writing, of course, Atlas of Cydonia. How you doing?
Hey, Vaughn. How are you?
I'm doing well.
That's awesome. I'm excited about your projects that you have coming up. They sound really great.
Yeah, man. No, I'm really excited for it. Really excited for it. So
I like the second one especially.
Living Legends?
World War III. Yeah, it sounds really cool.
Yeah, I'd love to tell a story set in World War III, but for now, that's kind of what I'm starting with. So there we are with that. But enough about me. I want to talk about you. So I've had you on the show before. But, now that we're one-on-one, so I really want to ask, so you're a writer, right? Just like me, fellow big brain writer. Enough of these artists, right? No, I'm kidding. I do love my artists. But especially when they draw my stuff,
Absolutely.
But what inspired you to get into writing?
It was something that I've always wanted to do since I was a little kid. My father loved Stephen King, and he talked about wanting to do that, like try to tell that a compelling story, and he never did. And it's something that has been with me my entire life. I've always loved stories. I've always read tons. Like when I was a teenager, like 12 to 15, I read a lot of Marvel, a lot of X-Men, different stuff like that. My favorite, or my introduction to comics, was the original Infinity Gauntlet 6-part storyline, and that really set the bar for the type of story I really enjoyed. And it's like the big epic, right, with lots of characters. So eventually I got into epic fantasy, read a lot of Forgotten Realms books. I don't know if you're familiar with Forgotten Realms.
No, but it sounds interesting.
It's Baldur's Gate, the video game.
I've heard a lot of discussion on it, and what's funny is I never heard of it. Everyone keeps 3 is the most recent, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Is there some drama or some shit, or is it actually just well received and liked?
I don't know about that. I don't really pay attention to that stuff so much anymore.
That's good. I just wonder because I feel like there's always 2 reasons something's trending. Either it's really good, or there's some bullshit drama around it, aka it's or it's bad. So I guess 3 reasons, really.
Yeah.
Oh, it's better than no one.
I don't know about that. I mean,
Yeah, actually, I take it back immediately. If listen, I'd rather be some indie unknown guy who's good than someone who's like, this shit sucks.
Well, like look at the Snow White that is supposed to be coming out that it sounds like they've shelved. That's because everybody was talking shit about it.
Yeah. So it wasn't going to make money. When you spend millions, listen, because the thing is, at the end of the day, you have to get someone to pay for it. Because that does bring up a good point, is people think that online traction inherently leads to money. Not necessarily. It could, but not necessarily. But yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
It depends on your angle, I think. Like if you're just promoting some cause and you're really toxic about it, you're probably going to not get monetized.
Right.
The right thing.
Right, exactly. Oh wait, I forgot. My it's really weird. It's only my PC does this with Kickstarter, but it doesn't work in most tabs. But okay, so you mentioned you wanted to always write epic stories, and you grew up with Marvel and fantasy. Not really as much fantasy comics as Marvel comics. It sounds like, right? More fantasy novels, more.
Sure, but lately, like in the last year, I've gotten into reading manga, and the 2 that I'm currently following are Demon Slayer. I've got the first couple of that, and that's so great. I have a bunch more to buy. And then I need to
finish season 3. I started it, and then I keep putting off finishing.
I haven't watched any of the anime yet. I really just need to do that. But then the other thing I'm really into is Kentaro Miura's Berserk.
Oh yeah, that I need to get into, especially I'm gonna get into that.
It's so dark and exceptional. It's seeing what he did really inspired me in the story that I want to tell. Another big influence for me was like a George R.R. Martin, just his level of violence, and and obviously the big plot.
Right.
I love plot as a writer. It's probably my favorite thing. Then I'd like to hang my characters off of it.
That's cool. Yeah. I know. Yeah. I mean, that's always interesting finding what people's favorite stuff is as a writer. So plot. So what makes a great plot for you?
It has to make sense. It can be as big and crazy as possible, but there has to be a suspension of disbelief that's carried through it, so that the audience believes. Like, yeah, okay. Like, I think an example of that is the Joker in the Christian Bale Batman, when he blows up the hospital. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but because it's the Joker, you're like, yeah, of course he does.
Right.
But then you compare that to, I don't even know, pick your recent movie that is awful.
Oh man, where do I start?
There's really too many.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, just making a story make sense is easier said than done in a lot of ways. But there are some times you overthink it, and then you have. It's why it's always good to have editors or even just friends just show stuff too. Because sometimes they'll be like, either A, this doesn't make sense and it's something you never thought of, or B, they'll be like, what are you talking about, dude? This is take it easy, all right? It's fine. So there's always that. But here we got your book, Atlas of Cydonia, which I'm going to assume makes sense.
How do you mean makes sense?
Well, just because you were joking about how a plot
makes sense.
And I'm like,
I hope it makes sense. I hope it makes sense.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, this is something that I've been working on for 25 years, this storyline. And it's finally coming out to the world.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I always feel like I've waited so long to tell my story, and then I hear that, and I'm like, dude, the determination for you to finally tell this it's something really special, and I'm sure it'll come across on the pages and in the words. Which we're talking about the words, but you write the pages out too, you approve them,
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. Let's check this out.
Absolutely. I think there's supposed to be music.
Is there no music?
I don't hear anything.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't wait. I've had people wait the whole trailer, and I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
come on.
Because I'm like, this isn't nearly as exciting as it usually is.
Yeah. All right, there we go. Yeah, all right, so I have to play the music in here and then show the campaign on the other browser.
Gotcha. Sweet.
I hope so. Yeah, it looks good, man. I mean,
thanks.
So is Desolate Soul Studios? I know it's the name of your channel, but is it also, which is a great channel by the way, you guys should definitely check it out. I'll make sure to link it. But is it also the name of your company then for as publisher?
Yeah, totally. It's like Jay.
That's great.
Jay does the art, obviously, and you got to see some of that incredible stuff there. There's so many, so much of his art in that particular trailer that are my favorite piece. Some of my favorite pieces in the entire book. But yeah, we're business partners. It's 50-50, and you know, the YouTube channel is part of that. It's part of the dream of getting these stories out into the world. On like in our own vision. I'm always really paranoid about trying to like make this story and then having someone else like purchase it and then change it entirely.
Where have we seen that before?
You know, like
all of entertainment.
Yeah.
Especially recently.
It depends if you're just, you know, in the business as a writer and you're writing a lot of different stuff. Then it kind of doesn't matter because you're just in the bit. You're just doing that, right? But for me, this is a project that's a lot more personal, and it's like, you know, kind of like my life's work, to be honest, of doing something creative.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's striking that balance is always tough between the making sure it makes money, or even just, you know, because there are obviously, and I'm sure one day, you know, if this takes off and whatever, that there will be publishing offers that look really good, and you're like, wait a minute, what's this in the contract?
Yeah, exactly.
Choice, and I think a lot of people make that choice, and they, you know, they'll get. One of the great things about selling it off, you know, is you'll get lines and lines of people that'll be signing up for it, you know, because it'll reach a wider audience. But in the short term, what that means is eventually, you know, it won't be yours, and you'll have to just watch it get run have other people run away with it. You can't do anything about it. And so I'm sure that lack of control is terrifying. And let me ask you this: is this your first comic that you've ever written?
Yeah.
How does it feel? Because I'm struggling with this even still, but I'm learning to get better at it. Just the feeling of having a page and handing it off to an artist and it's theirs. How do you go about that?
Well, my almost philosophy on storytelling, and it's taken me a long time to get here. Like, you need to just let it go. And this is in the comic book medium is really interesting because you're working so closely with someone else. If you're a writer of novels, which is where I like started out and that did a lot of my practice writing, was in the prose format. That's a lonely journey, right? Because it's just you. Maybe you have an editor, you let people read it, but it's just you working on that.
Right.
In this process, I mean, Jay and I have spent so much time collaborating and going over things. And then, of course, we have an inker and we have an editor. And then eventually the letterer will get his paws on it and we'll have a completed book. but you really need to just surrender your ego and have faith that they're going to capture your vision. But at the same time, you can't be afraid of saying, like, that's not good enough.
Yeah,
Especially
yeah, yeah.
if you're paying them. Like, if you're the one hiring them, and you know, I think a lot of discussion is important, and like talking things out. Like, are you familiar with Arcane?
I'm not.
So,
Well, okay, I briefly, I know it's a show. Someone mentioned it to me recently. I think that's like a show they like. It was
it's
right.
amazing. It's amazingly written.
Okay.
Yeah, it's amazingly written. But like, I mean, a show like that, they invest, you know, like a year into character design, and I mean, they had the League of Legends templates already down, right? So that's kind of different. But these shows that get produced will have loads of time for character development, where if they're doing it properly, and if you're coming up with a concept and you're handing it off to a guy and expecting, you know, no conversation to capture your vision, then that's impossible. And like, no one's a mind reader or magic. You really have to figure out like the theme and like the art style. I mean, if you've chosen out a particular artist, then you're going to want them to do that style. You know, the Barton Bros, right?
Yeah, they well briefly, I know that he killed it. One of them, which one of them is the one that did this? Was this Corey or
It's either Corey or Clayton. I mean, oh yeah, that one's Corey. And like, yeah, he absolutely smashed it. And I wanted him to do a cover because I had seen his work on their first book. I forget what it's called name, but it's epic fantasy. Borat or Borak? Borak. That's what it's called. But yeah, they're like incredible artists. So I was really happy to get him to do that Virgin cover. And that's our August King. He's the king of the mountain, as it were. His city is on the mountain of Cloud Peak, and he's the philosopher king. He's inspired by Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor and considered like the last good emperor before the empire went off the rails. Yeah, like Corey captured it, and all the little details. Like, there's a little lizard in there, and just little mushrooms and stuff.
Oh, I love when artists add little details like that. Like, even if you're looking at my pages for the Western, my artist added just like a little rabbit running across the road. Like, that wasn't in the script. I love when they.
And that's where allowing them the freedom to give it their own feel comes in, and kind of the magic of a great book can happen, right?
Well, absolutely, 100%. So, speaking of, you know, the magic of a great book, so we're talking about that. How would you like describe the plot for people that are unaware?
So this is a story of treachery and betrayal. Like, what happens when two brothers betray each other, and not intentionally, just because of who they are and the differences that are between them? And that opens up. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can.
Okay,
hear you.
sorry. You went silent.
Sorry, I went silent because I went muted.
Oh, sorry.
Because I was coughing. No, that's all. Okay. I'm listening to you.
Great. So yeah, it's the story of two brothers that exist at a time in the world when everything alive, for the most part, is godly, and it's this primordial world where gods hunt gods. And these two brothers, who their destinies are entwined together forever, split apart and go their own ways, and eventually they come back together, and the fallout of them it's not good. And then that launches from that age, that kind of first age of the world, into a future age where the war of the gods and the corruption of rivals carries on in the race of men. And it culminates with the villain, who's his name is Kadim, and he's this arch necromancer, which means, like Sauron on steroids. And he's come to conquer the last free city of the world. It's a great age of darkness, and that king is the leader of the city that stands against the tide of darkness. It's a really I don't want to say naive, but a black and white introduction, because it is being viewed from one side. Like, we're not trying to see both sides of the issue. It opens up on like the side of darkness, but then closes out with the light, I would say.
Gotcha. And this is all in just the first chapter.
Correct. This
you're not spoiling the whole series.
Well, this book serves as the prologue to a greater story, absolutely.
Right.
But this one is standalone.
Okay, that's a good sign. Yeah, everyone make sure to, because that's the thing often is, I'm sure with these crowd-funded books is finding a way to make that first issue self-contained, especially if you have a grander vision, which it sounds like you have.
Well, it's like if you back in the day when they would make TV shows, they would make a pilot episode and hope it was good, right?
Which I think they still do.
Yeah, I think Disney shoots. From what I've heard about Disney, they shoot everything. Like, they've shot half of Daredevil, Born Again, and now they've scrapped it.
Yeah, which is insane, by the way.
Which is insane. Yeah, they waste so much money. It's
nuts, man.
It's a wild world out there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so the story takes place in the world of Sidonia, and like I said in the beginning, the book opens in the first age of the world and closes in, I guess what's the it ends the third age. So the future story kind of picks up in this new era of post-evil necromancer who conquered the world.
Gotcha. So what were your biggest inspirations for this specific story?
I would describe it as, if you took three creators who I really admire and they were each a thread and you braided them together. So if you had like the world building of George Lucas.
Okay.
And then the story of Tolkien. Okay. And then the darkness of Berserk.
Okay, great. So Berserk is the one of those that I need to read. I know I'm definitely going to go through it with my channel. I'm going to have some Berserk fanatics are going to, guide me through that series whenever.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Oh yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
You definitely need to check out Arcane.
I will make that a point.
I think it's eight or 9 episodes, and it is seriously one of the best things Netflix has ever made.
All right, there we go. I'm writing. Yeah, I need to finish. I never even finished Cobra Kai season 5. Actually, I need to finish that and also Arcane.
Yeah, Arcane's great. I've actually seen what they've done with that and One Piece. I actually am holding out hope that Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender might be good.
But didn't the original creators leave because of creative? That's a big red flag.
Yeah, man, that gives me concerns.
That is the reddest blood red flag you could have.
Yeah. Like literally what we were talking about earlier, right? Like losing control of your story. And there they are just saying, like, you know what? Never mind.
It's good to have almost like a cult-like fan base who, when you leave, even if you don't own it, which I think, but I do wonder if the companies try and do that. If the companies try and make it where like they try and take it as far from the creator as they can. So you could cut them loose. Which, because I know that was, within reason. Like, for example, when I'm a creator, if I'm not collaborating someone, like if I'm writing some stuff for hire, I approach it with the mindset of it's not mine. This is me filling someone else's vision. It doesn't mean I can't have fun with it or put some of myself. Every artist puts some of themselves in their work, but there's that. It's what the client wants. Whereas if I'm writing, that shoe's on the artist's foot now. They're fulfilling my vision. It doesn't mean I ask them their opinion. What do you think of this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is this how you want to do it based on how I've written it? Which brings me to my question. A question I have is, because one of the things that fascinated me as a creator was that so film scripts, if you've ever studied film, they have a very strict format because it's almost like a very corporate. And I'm not saying that there's not an art to screenplays, but there's almost like a you can't do this, you shouldn't do this. Don't put in camera angles or stuff like that. Don't put in unnecessary information. Basically, you're just writing what appears on screen. And not even that, really, if I'm being honest. Like, not even, because you're not really... Although I did read in the script for The Searchers, they had some of that where they were being notes to John Ford. But otherwise, typically no. But with comic books, there's, like, no format, right?
Well, like, you do have comics the Marvel way, and I know in the software I use Final Draft.
Oh yeah, the screenplay.
It has some templates for writing out a comic book script.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Hang on, how long have they had that? Because this whole time,
which version do you have?
I think 11.
Okay, I have 12.
So there's a 12?
Yeah. But it's in you have an option for templates, or you should have an option for templates, and it's like different screenplay templates, different stage play templates, and then there's also graphic novel. They're not exceptional, but like they have, I think it's the Dark Horse and Image templates. They don't have the Marvel way, but they probably can't afford to pay it for the name.
That's crazy. I didn't know that though. So the companies have their own templates then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I mean,
that's nuts. I didn't know that. This whole time I've been writing scripts in like Google Docs.
Oh well, it converts over. But what's great about I'm sure you use the screenwriting apparatus of Final Draft, and that makes it pretty easy. But I think the key thing with writing in screenplays is you just need to do it a lot and kind of get used to it. Because writing comic books is really different from writing a screenplay, and it's very different. And both of those are really different from trying to write a book, and the information you're trying to convey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's just there's always so much micro stuff, and part of it is you just got to write and feel it out. But I remember there is a reason for formatting, and there's when you have hundreds of years of writing passed down to you, or even though it's comics, that came from somewhere. It is often good to look at it, but as long as the story comes across in the final product is really what matters. So when you write, do you write out the panels? Then it sounds like
I
do too.
I draw them.
Oh, see, I don't have even.
Well,
not to do the whole.
When I say draw, I mean like I make some. I mark out the panel shapes, and then I write what's in the panels.
Nice.
So at least I have a vision of like how it should flow. And I love splash pages and double splash pages. Like one of my favorite books is Court of Owls, for Batman. And there's a point where Capullo draws it in such a way that you literally have to turn it 360 degrees.
Ooh.
And it's so trippy. And I have the what's it called? The artist's edition. So
I still need to read that one.
It's good. It's good.
That's I mean, everyone speaks so highly of the Court of Owls storyline. I personally haven't read it yet, but I'd love to. But so Atlas of Cydonia.
Yeah.
So it seems like you've pulled from, looks like, Four Corners, you pull from novelists, you pull from a bunch of different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Manga, you go across the sea, which manga, I mean, there's a lot we could learn from it. And it's all going to be in black and white, right?
Correct. That's
cool. So your favorite writers when it comes to comic books, who are they?
Ooh, that's a good question. Obviously Miura is on the top with Berserk, and some people I'm bad with names. The Demon Slayer is really great.
Let me see. I have the book volume 1, but I haven't read it yet. But the name is it's been on my shelf wrong for so long.
Oh, geez.
That got fucked, dude.
Oh, no.
It's tragic.
Obviously, like Chris Claremont.
Oh, you're
I
speaking
remember
my language. I talked to
reading.
him this weekend a bit.
That's awesome. Dude, I have to add, just in a little sidebar, seeing your social media and you out there at all these conventions, getting to meet all the people and like doing it while you're young and like seizing the day is I quite enjoy it, and I
Thank
applaud
you.
for having the balls to go
I
get it.
enjoy it too. I enjoy it quite a bit. No, I worked with Michael Golden at his booth, and it was really cool because Chris came by like as his friend, and it was like almost like me being kind of just there, trying not. I didn't step over anything, but it was just kind of interesting hearing them talking, and they were just talking as friends about the time they created Rogue, and I was
Wow.
like what, like let's
You're the proverbial fly on the wall.
Yeah, no, I was right next to them just hearing them talk about it. It was like, you remember you described the character this, and I learned things that I didn't know about Ro. I've read like over 100 issues, right, with the character.
Incredible.
Shit I didn't even know. Well, hang on, has it been 100 since she joined? She joins the team in... When she joined the team? Because last issue it was 267.
Well, I remember when they had the Jim Lee run, where they rebooted the X-Men and they split them into blue team and gold team.
Yeah.
He was on the blue team.
Yeah, I'm getting there soon. I'm not there yet. So like where I'm at, Rogue has been missing for like 20 plus issues in the Siege Perilous. Where I'm at, it's also they're starting up all the spin-offs, and I'm like, I like stuff like Excalibur in it, but like X-Men is still my number one. And so I'm almost like, do I have to read all this? But everyone's telling me, yes, you should. So I'm like, okay.
So it gets tough with comics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Claremont, Mira.
I forget who wrote with Jim Lee for those early X-Men runs. That were phenomenal, but I loved those stories. What other?
Was that Lobdell?
Who?
Was that Lobdell or no?
I may have been. I'm moving, so it's hilarious. I launched this campaign on Kickstarter, and then 4 days later, my wife tells me that we've bought a house and we have to sell this one. So I've just been fucking hustling, dude. But it's great because I'm getting lots of stuff done, and I'm able to hop on with you tonight to talk about the book.
That's good. I'm glad you were able to. It sounds like, that sounds like a lot of work. So I'm glad we were able to make this work. But
it's a lot of fun though.
Yeah, no. I wouldn't do this, if it, okay, look, promoting can be a pain in the ass, but like doing these interviews, believe it or not, they could be fun, believe it or not, I do enjoy talking to, John and Jay when he's here, and whoever else I've had on. I've been graced with good guests thus far on my show. I did choose them, but they're all cool. They're all cool. You guys are all cool.
Green light them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like some of that art. That
occasionally no. Like Crystal, we had just followed each other, and I was like, I don't have a guest. She has a campaign. I was like, oh hey, can you come on the show? She's like, okay. That was probably the most last minute one. I think
that's amazing,
and it worked.
Yeah, why not?
But we had known each other, and so I'm looking forward to this. This book looks like it's going to be really cool. It's going to be like a very long ongoing, you said, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, but like the more I'm getting into the comic book industry and learning just kind of the flow of production, I feel like this story is going to have to be kind of done partially graphic novel and partially novel to tell it properly.
Because, that's interesting.
Yeah, because the principal storyline that I want to tell it's really big. Like when I mapped it out in a novel format, it was anywhere between 5 to 7 significant novels.
Mm-hmm. How significant are we talking? What's the page count? What's the damage?
500 a book.
Ooh. So that's about standard with fantasy. I know you fantasy guys like to really write, right? My friend BS Warren, he wrote like 900 pages on his fantasy.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I would do that on the first book, but first, like the potential on the second book, because I have so much world developed and to explore, and how I know where the story goes and all the different places, and like I have maps and so much stuff spent over the years developing this world that to try to produce it through comic books, it's at this point for me, it's cost prohibitive to do it because I don't have endless money. If I did, that'd be great. I would just employ a team of people and get it done. But I have certain ideas now, like I said, how I've learned about how to tell a story in the comic book and what is popular, where I think I can have some one-offs or maybe 2 book storylines that would really transfer to the visual medium of graphic novels, while other aspects of the story I think will just take place in the novel format. Like it's just I kind of came to this realization where I just understood. I was like Frodo on the way to Mordor. Right. I realized I wasn't going to make it home.
Oh.
Unless the Eagles came, and the Eagles came with an idea of like, you need to write a book still. That's like my good. Great phobia is trying to write a novel.
Well, there you go. You got to overcome it. You know, that's I mean, I'd like to one day. I remember just sitting down and banging out a short story, and I was like, I kind of like that. And part of me was almost like afraid to even revise it. I know like Harlan Ellison wrote like, I have no mouth and I must scream in just one night. And that is one of the things that I liked. Like comics, I'm trying to get better about because you really do have to think in terms of pages.
Yes. And page turns, right?
Yep. And so that's why it took me so goddamn long to write. And I'm probably not putting that amount of whatever into any other issue one. I think I'm going to. But I've also became a better writer through the process. So
definitely.
But the page turns is something thank God I have this shelf here. But one of the people I find I pull from the most is Miller in terms of this stuff. I mean,
sure,
his mastery of the page.
He's a genius.
Yeah, it's really special stuff.
I'm collecting his Ronin series that Philip Tan is doing, or doing the art for, and I swear to God, like you read it and it's more like an art magazine with a story in it, as opposed to a comic book. The way some pages are detailed.
Oh, well, I thought you were saying so. It's not good. I haven't read it yet. I'm gonna go through and I'll announce this. I'm trying to get. Well, I've announced it before, but we're gonna do this show called Comic Strip Club. We're gonna go through comic books in groups. And Ronin, I think, is going to be the first one we're going to do. I have some people that I'm talking to. I'll kind of, be like, hey, you ready yet? Make sure I get that underway. But we're going to do that. Frank Miller's Daredevil, Berserk. Lovely. We have tons of stuff I want to cover because I really just want to go through my enthusiasm. And if you have any favorites, of course, always down to talk. It's just a matter of scheduling it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. For Miller, I actually loved 300.
300's great.
The graphic novel is awesome, but I know some people think the movie's cheesy, but I love that movie because it just hits the note. It's perfect. But then from there it extrapolates into the constant Wonder Woman theme song is basically the 300 theme song.
Oh my God, yeah, dude. Except it actually 300 I think is much better than any of Snyder's other DC stuff because it's a simple story. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying there's no room for error. There certainly is. People have somehow found out a way to screw up basically everything throughout our history. But 300, I mean, you could read it all, and if I didn't have to go to bed, I would have. But you'd have to read it all. You could read it all in one night, and I almost did in one sitting. Not even one night, an hour. You could read this whole story. I mean, right. It's great.
Yeah. One thing I liked about the movie is that it really caught the author's or the creator's art style with some of the black and whites in the movie. And plus I'm a big history fanatic, so seeing that was a lot of fun.
So did you pull from a lot of history for this story? Sounds like you did earlier on. You were talking about Aurelius.
I've studying history is one of hobbies, I guess. I really enjoy it, and I love studying the great people of history,
Mhm.
like the conquerors, or even like different leaders in America are fascinating. Like they weren't conquerors, but they did they did fascinating things. And
Right.
I like taking aspects from all these great people, and then if you look at the history of the world, I think it actually allows you to gain a perspective of how much of a golden time we live in, like especially
Mhm.
in like North America and some other parts of the world where we have this like high level of technology,
Right.
and it just makes life so easy that we can come up with all kinds of other things to complain about. And that's
Right.
something I try to capture uh, in the story of Atlas of Sidonia, where you have cities that possess magic that serves as technology.
Mhm.
Whereas when you get out of those civilizational hotspots, you get into the wild, and there's still gods and demons out in the wilderness that are beyond the control of man.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that's really cool. Yeah, just adding, always throwing that little wrench in, is what makes it special. Is just almost like I always like the idea of just taking something and going, taking what you know and kind of saying, well, how would I react to this, or how would the world change if this? It's always a fun thing to do.
Totally. And I think for one aspect of our story that we tried to incorporate, that because we're writing fantasy, there's nothing kind of automatically familiar with a brand new world, as opposed to setting it like Marvel is set in New York City, right? Where you
Right.
can draw upon New York. We tried to capture some elements of our own history in the design of stuff. So like we have the warrior, Masato. He's got a very samurai inspired design, and then we have a lot of columns. I don't know if it's the shots are actually on this page. I don't think I included the throne room scene, but the mountain, or the city inside the mountain, is designed with huge columns like what you would have seen in Greece or Rome back in the day.
Oh, gotcha.
I love
So do you send a lot of architectural references then?
yes,
It's awesome.
I love that stuff, especially not just architectural but just landscape. Get drawing a good background landscape for a scene, I really that's one of my favorite things to see in graphic novels and comic books.
Gotcha, man. That's dope.
Yeah,
And this is $25 Canadian, so it's about $19 a boot, as you Canadians would
a
say.
boot.
$19 American. So that's a really good deal for 56 pages.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
you got two covers here. Um, and these are first edition. Does that mean you're going to change them in later releases? Is your plan?
It's possible. Well,
Awesome.
what I expect will happen is it'll become part of a trade paperback.
That's always the goal, ain't it? Yeah.
Yeah, because
So
this
that's
is
really
going to
cool.
lead into something else that I've got some feelers out for the next project to go along with this book, and I'm pretty excited about that too. But that's down the road a little bit.
So definitely, guys, make sure you check this out. This is something really special. What else do you want to say? Anything that's not on this campaign or that we haven't talked about?
I just would say that anybody who decides to give us the opportunity to entertain you for half an hour, kind of depends on how quickly you read, you won't be disappointed. And if you love fantasy, this is my sincerest attempt to create the next great epic fantasy, at least to the best of my abilities. And I take a lot of pride in pouring my own the darkness that I've experienced in my own life in this world. I channel it into my writing so that I don't need
Mhm.
to carry it in my own head.
Oh yeah, don't we all, brother? That's the truth. It's, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's where some of the best art comes from. Really, I do.
I think so. It if you don't if you can't capture that passion and that true, like a true energy in a story, then it's gonna fall flat.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely, guys, check out this book. This looks great. Jay, I'm sorry. Fucking, I swear I'm paying attention. It's just there's, I'm always thinking of the Sidonia boys, and I think might have called Jay John at one point. Actually.
You sound like my grandparents, Vaughn. You're not that.
Oh, old. That's not good, guys. I'm 24. I'm gonna have to be like, doctor, is something wrong? No, I think I'm aging gracefully. I hope. At least,
Well, you have a great smile.
Well, that's good. I just hope my memory's intact. But thank you guys, John. It's always a pleasure talking to you. I love hearing about your artistic inspirations. I do write down some stuff, like I know Arcane people recommend, but obviously when a fellow writer recommends something, this, it tends to go higher up in the totem pole, right?
Yeah, you'll love it.
Yeah, see, words like that. You hired by them? No, I'm kidding. Thank Jay.
That'd be a fun project.
So Jay is obviously also, you guys have probably met Jay from Desolate Soul Studios. He's the artist. John's writing. I'm sure it's going to be a great book. It's a cheap book too, man. For the price of entry, it's a really good price. So definitely check it out. Get both covers if you want, or you could just get one. Either way, absolutely check that book out. Next week, I do think I'll be having a Hojo on my guest. We're just solidifying it. I don't know if you guys know who Hojo is. He's been in my chat. He's been on my streams. I think with you guys, actually, he's been on my streams.
He's great.
Yeah, Hojo's good people. Mythicals is good, so I'll be talking about Mythicals too with Hojo. And so keep it locked to my channel. Check out Desolate Soul Studios. He's had Philip Tan and some big names on there, so it's nothing to snooze on. Not only does he have some great books coming out, but he also has some great guests over there. I've been a guest over there, so he's good people and good hosts. And and they've managed to put up with Zach twice, so they have endurance. They have endurance. And many. No, but I'm kidding. I do love Zach too. But thank you guys so much for watching. Again, make sure to check out this book, subscribe to both our channels, and I will see you next time. And I do have if you're watching this live, I do have a show coming up right after this, dude. Maybe this wasn't a good idea. I don't know if you could tell, but I got con crud or something from NYCC, but I'm still alive. And you know what? Like our main characters or whatever, however many characters, I'm going to keep persevering for the fans. All right. So thank you guys so much for watching. John, where can everyone follow you, by the way?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Atlas of Sidonia. And I will, in the new year, have my own YouTube channel coming up. It's going to be called This Hero's Journey. And we're going to be tackling everything story. And there's going to be some short videos that I'm going to talk about, different historical events or people. I'm going to have some discussions, and we're going to dig into, heroes and villains and plot and all the things that make stories amazing.
Sounds good. All right, guys, check that out, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.